What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another episode of Lions Latest, going through the latest Detroit Lions news, and we are back with another takeaways video from Detroit Lions joint practices from Thursday. Saturday, the Lions take on the Colts in their second preseason game, so let's get it started.
Fired up. It's made a great decision.
Great teammates, coaches, and other people who want to be Super Bowl champions. Man, we're going to do it this year.
And we're going places, because we want to go places.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome, everybody, to a video. Glad you guys are here, and we are back with another Lions latest video, man. Back with these joint practice updates, and I think this video is going to be a little bit better than yesterday's joint practice updates. I know that one was a little bit shorter and it came out kind of late. I don't know when this one's going to come out, but that one was a little bit shorter. However, I think I was able to find some more notes today as I went digging in some different places. I went to the Colts side just to see what they said. It's funny when you look at the differences between like how like maybe a reporter from the Lions and the Colts might write something. Lions might say, hey, pass breakup, and they might say, hey, he just dropped the pass. It's funny to look at those. But with that being said, I feel like we have some good notes from today's practice. However, there's not that much from Lions offense because I guess most of the Lions beat reporters were focused on the Detroit Lions defense this day. So more of that was yesterday. However, we also got to hear from Dan Campbell in his presser. Plus, I listened to Frank Reich's presser, and he was saying how his starters were getting 20 plus, snaps and opportunities. Of course, they do a lot of situational drills as well, including special teams. And Dan Campbell also brought it up that, these are really good days for the starters. They're getting a lot of reps, but neither coach anticipates that they're really going to play any sort of starters on Saturday. According to Frank Reich, him and Dan Campbell talked about it, and it sounds like the Colts may play like one or two starters, but that's it. And it sounds like the Lions are probably going to be doing a very similar thing. We're going to get to that, though. We're going to talk about this participation report, do an update there, then we'll dive into some of the notes that I've gathered and what Dan Campbell told us this morning, as well as a little bit from Frank Reich. So let's get it started. Wait, we already did that. We already did the intro. I'm sorry. I forgot where we were. This is bad. Anyway, let's just dive right into the participation report. Let's start there. Little update here with Jameson Williams, as the rest of it remains same on the top. Jameson Williams traveled to the joint practices with the Detroit Lions. I bring that up because guys like Levi did not travel to the joint practices. It sounds like he's more so like healing from his injury. Again, he didn't really have an update on the timeline for Levi. Of course, they're hoping that, he's able to get back soon. He said every day that he missed, it doesn't help him. But Jameson Williams did travel. As they said, Jameson Williams, it's good for him to continue to be engaged. He's been engaged throughout training camp, but I think it also kind of points to where he's at in terms of his recovery, right? Like he's healed, but he's also now building up the strength so that, as the Lions said, he can protect himself through that injury. So I feel like he's in a pretty good spot in terms of recovery because he is traveling. He probably just continues to have to do like specific workouts and things like that to make sure that he can build up strength to where he dealt with the torn ACL. Yesterday, we know he returned as well, but it sounds like he didn't really participate. He just kind of had his jersey on, but today he did participate. Even though we have less notes from the offensive side today for the Lions because it seems like most of the Lions reporters were focused on the defense side of the ball, it sounds like he was participating, which is good. Even though I don't have any notes from him, sounds like he was participating. And then you also have Kevin Jarvis continues to be sidelined. Devin Funchess, here's some good news. Devin Funchess, Dan Campbell said he's okay, he's fine. He was dealing with a little bit of a stinger, so they're going to kind of just play it by ear, as he always says, just kind of see where that goes and how healthy he is. But they said it was just a stinger that he was dealing with. Levi, as we said, did not travel. He continues to be sidelined. Savion Smith, we talked about him yesterday. He has returned. Julian Okwara still sidelined. And CJ Moore today, sounds like he did not participate, but he did have his jersey on. Into some of these notes that I gathered from what Dan Campbell told us this morning. Now, this is before joint practices today, so he's talking about some things that took place yesterday. He did make it clear that when the offensive line came over yesterday, they were a different offense. We heard about the struggles that maybe they had on 7-on-7s. Goff saying, getting the feet wet a little bit, trying to adjust to what they're doing defensively against us. But as Dan Campbell said, when the offensive line came over, we were different. And he said it was great to see those guys eat. He thought they looked some of the best that they've looked up to this point in terms of not only just run blocking and some of the combination blocks they did on the interior, but at the same time what they were doing in play action for some of those play action attempts that they were taking and their pass protection there as well. So of course we know that's maybe the Lions' biggest strength, especially when all those dudes are healthy. It was like the first time seeing it was last week, and it looked really darn good on that first drive. So when you put that into the mix, all of a sudden it can definitely change things. And as he said, he thought it kind of changed their tempo a little. We want to see that thing healthy, man, because that offensive line is great on paper. Like I said, we saw it in week 1 of the preseason. That we don't feel outmatched. and that gives him confidence because he felt like necessarily they belonged here against the Colts, and the Colts are, of course, a playoff team. They're, trying to make it to the Super Bowl. They went out and made the move for Matt Ryan. They try to take that, little leap that they need to get further in the playoffs. He said, we felt like we weren't outmatched and that we belonged here with the Colts. And actually, as soon as you listen to Frank Reich talk about joint practices today, he immediately got on saying, credit to the Lions. He said they brought the heat, they brought the energy immediately, and he would say something about the Colts, like, hey, the Colts did this well, and then he would come back and say, hey, the Lions did pretty well here too. Now, again, a lot of these notes are from the defense side, so this works perfectly. Dan Campbell did say that he felt like yesterday, specifically on the outside, he wanted his guys to be better in the secondary today, some of those cornerbacks, and he thought that we had issues when we would give up some free releases, and there were opportunities that we could have made plays at the catch point. We saw the one, of course, yesterday from the receiver out of Cincinnati, the guy named Alec Pierce, drawing a blank there. When Alec Pierce made the catch over Amani, really tough catch. He said we had to be, more challenging, I guess, within the first 5 yards. And actually ties along to what Aaron Glenn told us before we really got into this when he spoke to ESPN, talking about how he wanted to be more physical within 5 yards, right? He wanted to battle and try to throw off receivers within 5 yards. And actually all the clips that we really got today from the cornerback, specifically Jeff Okudah, were all the underneath routes, because that's where he's seemingly really picked it up. And we saw from the first preseason game what he was able to do in underneath coverage. But he made a really good point there, saying that, when you face a different team like this, you get a good sense of maybe how they view and what maybe they view as your strengths and your weaknesses and how they feel like they should attack you in these practices, because in the preseason you really don't get that, right? Teams are kind of just doing their own thing. It's not really game planning for the preseason, but when you get these joint practices, you kind of maybe get a little bit better sense of how teams necessarily view you and where you're good and where maybe you need some work and how they can attack you. He did speak on Malcolm, because Malcolm Rodriguez is like the hot topic recently. He continues to grow, but specifically he said that Malcolm Rodriguez has been steady. I think that's the biggest point that he made there. And I was actually talking about this yesterday. I'm sure the clip's up on Twitter, talking about Malcolm Rodriguez. And I feel like that's what the Lions are really going to like, is that he's very steady. And they're going to know what they're going to get out of Malcolm Rodriguez. Yes, he's a rookie. That kind of sounds crazy. And he has some limitations. But you kind of know what you're going to get. He's usually going to be where he's supposed to be. And the Lions are going to be able to trust that, which is why I feel like he will start at linebacker week 1 for the Lions. I said that yesterday, and that continues to be kind of the thought amongst people now, is more and more so people believe that this guy's going to actually end up starting. And it sounds like Malcolm again today mixed in with his first team reps. Speaking of starters, I don't know for sure because I'm not there, but it does sound like Jeff Okudah is getting a majority of the first team reps. Again, I don't know for sure, but every time I read something, it'll be like, okay, Jeff Okudah first team, and it's Will Harris now with the second team. I think Okudah is also trending in that direction of he's going to be the starting outside corner week 1 as well. But we've hit on that. And Campbell talked about kind of playing with some of that passion, that energy, and how things can get a little bit, things can you get some scuffles that go on in there. But he said that's what we have to make sure that we do well, is that we really toe the line, but we don't cross the line. Okay, because hey, you do some things in here, they're going to be flags in games, you're going to have deal with fines, suspensions, all that kind of stuff. So you have to be able to control it, but come out there with that fiery energy. And he said we have to be able to toe the line. He felt like Dan Skipper and Austin Bryant did a good job of that. By the way, it sounds like Austin Bryant absolutely went crazy today, as it has been noted that he had like 3 sacks in practice. So shout out to Austin Bryant eating, and that doesn't shock me, because from everything I've read from both sides, the Colts reserves really struggled to block the Detroit Lions reserves on the defensive line. So we're going to get to that. Let's dive into some of these notes that I took. Now, yesterday it was kind of put out there that the Indianapolis Colts really did well against the Lions defense, and the Lions had some very legitimate struggles defensively, but it also sounds like things changed a little bit today. The Colts had success in areas, but the Lions absolutely had a lot of success in other areas, specifically in a lot of their situational drills. Frank Reich talked about it, and he said, look, our offense did well, but Detroit did well as well. He even said it like straight up. He was disappointed with how they did in some of their goal line situations, and disappointed with how they did in their 2-minute drills as well. Start off with some of the notes that I gather from their offensive line versus defensive line, and also from their 7-on-7s from the defensive perspective. Yesterday we talked about the offense side, this time from the defensive perspective, and I'll dive into even more notes when we get to some of these 11-on-11 and situational drills. But starting off with the offensive line versus defensive line, we don't have all the reps here, but the Lions social media did put a couple of those out. Now, we did get a note from, not a note, but we saw this on the Colts social media. It looked like it was Jonah Jackson, left guard, being getting beat by Tyquan Lewis, who is a young defensive tackle. I didn't realize they also have Eric Johnson. I liked Eric Johnson coming out as well. I think he actually ended up getting drafted. Like, his stock skyrocketed. Anyway, that's off the point. Point is, speaking of Lions defensive line, sounds like Aiden Hutchinson definitely had some good reps, and so did Aleem McNeil, and some of the backups as well. Speaking of Aiden Hutchinson, the Lions posted one of his clips on social media against Jordan Murray, and this is absolutely disgusting. I mean, how cleanly he gets to the backfield here is messed up. I mean, it's like he barely even touches the guy with the outside inside, that agility that he has to beat guys and offensive tackles from the interior. If you're not used to facing that, you're gonna have an issue. And you know, Penny Sewell, Taylor Decker, they're kind of used to what he can do on the inside, right? They see it all the time. But man, when you don't see it all the time, this guy is dangerous on the interior. It also sounds like, however, James Houston also beat Jordan Murray. Demetrius Taylor beat their backup center, Wesley French. First sector beat Will Fries, who is their backup guard. John Kaminsky also beat their backup center. Now, it sounds like John Kaminsky also had a really nice win when they went to some of the team drills, picked up a sack in there as well. Now, when it comes to some of the 7-on-7 notes, I think these are exclusively from Pride of Detroit, so shout out to them. They said that defensively, in 7-on-7 drills, the Detroit Lions allowed 4 touchdowns on 11 attempts. All right, now you can still have a completion and not a touchdown, just assuming it's like how the Lions do it in their training camp. I can't remember exactly how far off, but they're like 15, maybe 20 yards out of the end zone. And of course, it's 7-on-7, so you don't have the trenches in there, right? So quarterback kind of has some time to throw. But it sounds like they went 4 for 11 on these reps, and the 4 touchdowns that they picked up were a touchdown, a wheel route by Naheem Hines on Chris Board. Also, Mo Alley Cox scoring a touchdown between A.J. Parker and Tracy Walker. Alec Pierce scoring on Mike Hughes, and Deshaun Elliott and Amani Oruwariye colliding on a pick play. So that makes me think that this one was much closer to the end zone to run a pick play. Maybe not, though. Colliding on a pick play, which ended up turning into a touchdown. So only 4 of the 11 reps did they score a touchdown, but those ones I think are exclusively from Pride of Detroit, so shout out to them. But diving into some of these situational drills and some of the 11-on-11s, this is where the Lions have some success. Now, 11-on-11s, it sounds like the Colts actually did pretty well here and actually came out with a bang. Jonathan Taylor, I guess, had a 30-yard run early in practice that I think Alex Anzalone was late to filling the hole, and it turned into a big run. And that can happen in this style of defense. This is why I say it. In this style of defense, you don't really have guys that are going to be there where it's like, hey, you missed your gap. It's going to be all right, though. It's very dangerous in this attacking style defensively, right? You can sometimes get away with it in our pass defense where you may be giving up more yards. You may be getting less penetration, but with multiple guys responsible for multiple gaps, it can be a little bit safer defensively. In this defense, you got to fill your lane, and that's where I feel like the Lions are really going to like Malcolm Rodriguez, because he's going to be where he needs to be way more often than not. A couple of other big runs after that. Michael Pittman, I guess, had a pretty darn big day, as well as Jelani Woods, who picked up 3 receptions. Jelani Woods catching an underneath pass on Derek Barnes, and then immediately they put Malcolm Rodriguez in the game, and the first play he was out there, he stuffed the run for 0 yards. Okay, Rodrigo, hey, he's going to keep building hype, especially because Hard Knocks keeps showing him off. This guy's going to have a lot of fans. I'm sure people are buying the Malcolm Rodriguez jerseys as we speak. Jeff Okudah, however, did have a pass breakup on Alec Pierce. This was, of course, the blurry one that we got yesterday where he ripped it out. But then you also see this one against Pittman, who had a very good day. Seems like he was already kind of dropping this one, but still playing through the receiver and breaking it up. We talked about, what did Dan Campbell say, right? Want to be more physical, underneath, kind of off the line of scrimmage. Well, look at how he just cuts off this route. And Jeff Okudah's skill set, specifically coming out of college, he was going to match up better with bigger receivers, right? Some of the guys that are less, elusive, I guess you could say, less twitchy, a little bit bigger. He can match up with those guys. He can play through the receiver. He's a physical cornerback, and you saw that here. He just basically cut this route off. Just got on top of the route, cut it off, and broke up this pass. He's had a couple of these pass breakups going back to yesterday. He also had another pass breakup, but I love what I'm seeing out of Jeff Okudah, as from everything I read, Jeff Okudah did pretty darn well today. It was a good day for Jeff Okudah as a whole. Then they had multiple run stops at the line of scrimmage. Lions' interior defensive line was definitely getting some push, and as we said, Austin Bryant was apparently noted for not only having a couple of run stops, but also 3 sacks on the day, working against the reserves. Now, when they dive into some of these red zone and situational drills, we'll start with the red zone first. Sounds like the Lions just completely shut out the Indianapolis Colts. Now, that's not to say that they didn't have plays that picked up yards, but they didn't score on any of these plays in the red zone drills, which is kind of fascinating to think about. So I guess they did a play from the 10 10-yard line to 7-yard line to 5-yard line to 4-yard line and from the 1. And as Frank Reich said, he was disappointed with how well they did here. Well, let's take a look at it. In the first unit, here are the notes that they gave us with how this went down. And I guess they did reps from the 10-yard line to 7, the 5, the 4, and the 1. I think it was 6 in total. They did it with the first team. They did 6 reps with the second team. Sounds like it started off with Michael Pittman having an underneath route, a couple of big completions. Sounds like he had 5 receptions on 9 targets from Matt Ryan today, and Matt Ryan went 9 of 12 on the day when they went to the 11 on 11 drill specifically with Malcolm Rodriguez in coverage. So yeah, crossing the middle, Malcolm Rodriguez probably sitting back in zone or something like that. Picked up 4 yards, then a 0-yard run, so no yards there. And I love to see this when the field gets condensed, being able to stop the run, because I mean at that point, right, the field's a little bit smaller, so can you just win those battles up front? I mean, a lot of times, can you win the battles up front? Can you get that push, that penetration into the backfield? And I really like where the Lions' interior defensive line is at. I liked what I saw from Isaiah Buggs, and I gotta believe he's within this rep. Ali McNeil, these interior guys, Demetrius Taylor in the first preseason game. I know what Michael Brockers can be against the run on the interior as well. John Kaminsky, like we got some dudes in there now. And at defensive end, Charles Harris, a good run defender. We saw Aiden Hutchinson first preseason game. I don't need to say much more about that. So to have a 0-yard run stuff from this goal line work, then it was Doolin who had a short completion on Amani for about 3 to 4 yards, it sounds like. Then, speaking of him again, Malcolm Rodriguez with a tackle for loss, which even the Colts reporters brought up as well, on Naheem Hines. Then another tackle for loss for Lions defense, and it finished off with the first team with a fumble. Had penetration from Ali McNeil. I can't tell you whether or not he knocked it out. It sounds like there was just some mess up in terms of the exchange, but Aiden Hutchinson dove on it, and that's how that ended with the first team. So I'll say that's mission successful. Not allowing a touchdown in 6 snaps, that works for me. And again, this is from the 10, 7, 5, 4, and 1 yard line from what I'm understanding. Now the second unit went through it, and they didn't let off at all. So the first rep we're noted is John Kaminsky wins for a sack. It sounds like he beat, again, speaking of Wesley French, their backup center for a sack. Then the next play, Jared Davis, so I guess working with the second team, that's good for Jared Davis, had a good tackle on a shovel play, which it sounds like it was kind of blown up because their backup offensive tackle, Ryan Van Denmark, and into their tight end. So somehow that threw off the play, and Jared Davis made a good tackle, good stop on the play. I think that's the offensive tackle from UConn, if I remember correctly. So then it was a tightly contested situation. Savion Smith on Michael. I don't know how to say this guy's name. I remember when he came out of the draft, there's a lot of Lions fans that liked him. Strachan? I don't know how to say his name. You guys know who he is, all right? I guess he was in tight coverage there. He wanted a flag. There was no flag that was thrown because, remember, they do have referees. And then it was a run stuff for the Lions to allow only a 1-yard pickup. The Lions defensively did pretty darn well when it came to the red zone drills. Now, situational drills. All right, this is an area where Matt Ryan talked about it. He wanted them to be better here because, again, the Lions won this, you could say, as well. So they put 110 on the clock. Lions do the same thing, right? 110 on the clock, down by 3 from their own 35. Lions defense needs to find a way to get a stop. So the first team unit, it went like this. The first completion went to Michael Pittman, inbounds for about a 4-yard gain. So again, 5 receptions today. Sounds like he had a couple of chunk plays, but that's 2 plays now that are under 5 yards completing a pass. So it's like, all right, that's cool, but like, what's the result there? For about 4-yard completion from Michael Pittman. Then they came back and had a pass breakup from Amani Oruwariye, and I think it's this clip that the Lions put on social media where Amani's kind of sitting behind it because the Colts noted it as a great pass that was dropped. It sounds like he was just kind of behind the route. I don't think Amani even expected to break this thing up. Behind the route, and he breaks this pass up, so that is a pass breakup. That's awesome. Good contest there from Amani. There's another incomplete pass thrown to Michael Pittman, but this one, it sounds like he completely just burnt Amani Oruwariye over the middle of the field, at least according to the Colts reporters, and there was a PI, but Frank Reich declined it. He said, I don't want that. I want the 4th and 5. So I guess the first play was 5 yards. I want the 4th and 5. We need to work on that. So technically, the Lions would have given up a first down there, but he declined it, wanted to have a 4th and 5 situation, and this is how it went. Sounds like it was another pass breakup, this time on Paris Campbell by A.J. Parker. Now again, the Colts said maybe it was more of a drop than anything. Regardless, the Lions got off the field. So the PI is not good, right? I mean, that's not something you want to see. And Michael Pittman did give the Lions some issues, it sounds like today, as I said, with Jelani Woods, who also had 3 receptions today, gave the Lions some problems over top. Jelani Woods is a very talented receiving tight end. We remember him coming out of Virginia, right? I mean, the guy that's like 6'7" and runs like a 4.6 40. He's a pretty talented tight end. Now, the second team defense had some success as well. They didn't need a PI, and they got him off the field. Start off with an Austin Bryant, sounds like hurry on the play that led to a check down for a pickup of a yard. Then it came back to a pretty medium pickup, it sounds like. Malcolm Rodriguez ended up making the tackle after about a 6-yard gain. And then it was Will Harris who had a pass breakup over Desmond Patman. All right, so again, Will Harris sounds like more working with the second team, but you're still getting guys like Malcolm still mixing in there. Malcolm's just getting a lot of reps in general. I mean, that's just what it sounds like. And then they had another check down pass that was shut down by Juju Hughes, and he did not pick up the first down. That was Nick Foles, who will start on Saturday, from what I'm understanding. He was 3 for 4 in this, but again, they didn't pick up the first down. So Nick Foles will start on Saturday. We will not see Matt Ryan, and we won't see the majority of their starters. It sounds like Tim Boyle is probably going to start for the Lions on Saturday as well. Now, Lions offensively, we didn't really get many notes from this that I was able to find. More so, the notes I was able to find was from the Colts perspective. EJ Speed, who is a backup linebacker for the Colts defense, had an interception in one of their red zone drills working 11 on 11, and as Frank Reich told us, they went to red zone drills and they went live. When they went 11 on 11 from red zone, they did live. So it sounds like it was a live drill, 11 on 11, and an interception that EJ Speed had. Knowing that he's the backup linebacker, I would assume this was versus the second or third team for the Lions offensively. Chris Wilcox, I guess, had a pass breakup on somebody. On a good note, you could see another huge play that the Lions picked up to Trinity Benson. All right, we talked about this yesterday, a big play action. This one's even bigger, even deeper. We see you, Trinity Benson. Keep eating over top. Keep building that confidence with Jared Goff. I love to see that, man. I love it. Keep stretching the field and opening up some of this other stuff for us. So Trinity Benson, you saw, got over top again. Looks like they got DeAndre Swift lined up on a linebacker, which usually is an issue. You get one-on-one with Swift on a linebacker. As long as you get that one-on-one, it's not some kind of other type of coverage. Usually Swift is going to win that matchup, and it looks like he did here. So those are the notes that I have gathered today from Detroit Lions practice. I know that was kind of all over the place, but I had to go over to different places to just see what I could find. Now, special teams, I will point this out. Sounds like both kickers went 4 of 5 today, with each kicker, of course, only having one miss. Riley Patterson missed his kick from 38 yards. Austin Seibert missed his from 43 yards. So even aside from that, both kickers made it from 47 and from 50 yards, which is good, but still not perfect. There you go. That'll kind of lead us into Saturday's game. We're going to be live tonight with Rad. Maybe that already happened. Maybe it hasn't happened yet. If it hasn't, check us out. If it has, well, check. You can watch it back. Thank you, Brian, for watching, and I'm out.